Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Jackson. We have a developing news story to report. This is on the near west side, where there's an apparent gas leak and has created quite an emergency situation in that area. We want to have live pictures from that, courtesy of Chopper 4. You can see the fire crews there trying to extinguish the flames. Here's what we can tell you at this point. We're told that a construction crew in that area apparently struck a gas line.
Somehow that line must have ruptured, and inside the pizza ovens actually ignited that fire, and that's what you're seeing here. So far, we're hearing from employees of that Domino's that everyone got out safely, but you can see firefighters still have a lot of work to do here as they battle these flames in this parking lot. If you take a look this way over here, you can see that there's a lot of people watching this, neighbors from the area coming out to see what was happening, a lot of them telling us they heard and felt that shake when the building exploded. We're hearing maybe 2 explosions here. We'll keep you updated on air and online. Mike, back to you.
We were in work and we saw the construction people working out front, and I don't know what happened, but they hit something and we saw them just like run across the way. So we're like, I guess it might be time for us to go, because we just smelt it and we're like, we didn't know what it was. So finally I got everyone out the building, and then I seen everyone else evacuating from their buildings, and I was like, it's time to go out back. So we all ran out back, had the whole everyone in that building was out back, and that's when it exploded.
This is 2800 block of West Broad Street. It is a Domino's Pizza. That is where the ovens from the pizza ignited the gas fumes, and that resulted in the huge explosion the fire department is working on right now. Always when we talk about fire and we talk about the impact of weather, let's join Storm Team 4 meteorologist Dave Mazel with potential impact with this. Dave?
Well, you know, a couple of things. Obviously, we've got a little bit of a breeze outside. That's one of the concerns we'll be talking about. Also, some of that mist that's spraying off the fire hoses. A concern right now if you're near that area, because obviously temperatures are still cold enough where we could see patches of ice. The good news is you notice most of the temperatures have gone back above freezing this afternoon. So again, later tonight, when those temperatures this evening begin to fall, a little bit of ice on the ground will be a concern, especially for those firefighters out there. But if you do live nearby or see wet conditions on the roads near that location, be careful. Wind speeds, thankfully, right now are not that strong. Most of the numbers are in the single digits right now. We've got them at about 8 to maybe 10 miles per hour here in the city currently, with winds out of the south to southeast. So that means that if you're basically due north of this location, you are going to be in the line of smelling some of that smoke, maybe off towards the northwest. You will smell a little bit of that smoke coming off of that fire right now.
They've evacuated just about one block in each direction for safety. Of course, the employees were evacuated once they smelled the gas, so they were out before the explosion. That could have been a terrible situation if they were inside when that occurred.
Yeah, you know, we also have been checking with the fire department, and we are checking with the gas company right now, because we're trying to figure out if gas service to those homes that you've been talking about and the businesses in that multi-block area will be impacted tonight. One thing that is good news, Mike, that you might not think as you look at these flames shooting into the air, now that the explosion has occurred, the flames are good news, because that means that any natural gas that's leaking out from underground is burning off. It's either burning off or it's being dissipated into the air.
Yeah, we're continuing to watch. Obviously, there's closures West Broad. You want to avoid that altogether. You can see off towards the, basically off towards the west side of town. The location of this is the 2800 block of West Broad. That's near the intersection of Powell and West Broad. But of course, we want to make sure that everyone in those areas, about a block around, so up to Gray Street down to Olive Avenue, those areas are being evacuated this evening, or this afternoon, I should say. But again, West Broad, you can see from right now from Hague Avenue to Binns Boulevard is closed down. You can see right there the purple color on the map showing that Broad Street is closed down. If you are in this area not evacuated, you do want to make sure that you try to avoid it. Also, if you live north up towards Gray Street, the wind is coming out of the southeast this afternoon at about 8 miles an hour. So any of that smoke, the stuff that is burning off, is going to drift northward up towards Gray Street, also towards Steele Avenue.
I do have Battalion Chief Steve Martin here to kind of fill us in on the latest of what's going on. And Chief, fire is still burning. What is the risk at this point?
The risk right now is the building behind the fire. It's Nationwide Children's Hospital. It's one of their outbuildings. The gas that's underneath the ground, escaping from a high-power gas line, has the potential of seeping into that building. And if we get some gas buildup in there and it finds an ignition point, we can have another explosion.
So let's back up a little. This started with a construction crew that was boring underneath Broad Street. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they were laying some conduit, some kind of pipe, or what?
Whatever they're doing, boring underground. Yeah, I think they usually put like an underground plastic conduit that could be used later for fiber optics or something like that.
And they hit a high-pressure gas line. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so we had this explosion at the Domino's initially, and the gas is still running. As far as you folks are still getting readings that show that the gas is still coming.
That's correct. So that it's looking for any way it can to get out from underground as it's continually fed by that high-pressure line.
So some of that gas, is from measurements, is seeping into the Nationwide Children's Primary Care Building as well as the sewers. Is that right?
I think there's a good possibility for it. That's how it got into the pizza place. But we are getting readings in some of the sewers and manholes that are close by, so we know it's underground. It's coming out any way it can.
Well, I first thought it was Marathon. I got a call that said it was Marathon. I rushed over here because I know everybody at Marathon too, and they said if there's anybody in there, they're dead, I come over here thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. All my friends work there. I've been at Domino's 24 years.
Just glad to see that everyone made it out safe.
Yeah.
What did you see when you came to the building here?
Well, I watched, I think a tire explode off the truck that's out front. Looks like there's going to be another explosion. I've been watching the walls of a building I watched being built years ago fall down.
We have on the phone with us right now Jeff Young, who is with Franklin County EMA. And Jeff, we'd love for you to tell us, in situations like this where suddenly there's an explosion and an entire neighborhood is impacted, what's job one for the emergency responders when they get to a situation like this?
Well, typically, a first responder, anybody that's going to pull up initially on these scenes, whether it's one building or an entire neighborhood or subdivision, their first priority is going to be life safety, starting at the most affected area first and then working out to those less affected or those less in danger. But the life safety is the first priority. Then they'll work to try to stabilize the incident or contain it.
Our Ted Hart, he is covering this event as well on the west side. He has new information for us. Ted?
Well, Mike, you can still smell the natural gas here in the air here, by the way. But I am joined by Tila Fields. Step in here, Tila. Hello. Tila lives just a couple doors away from the Domino's and was home at the time with your children. So describe for me what that was like for you and your kids.
Terrifying. I had no clue what the noise was, where it came from. I thought the tree in my backyard finally fell on the roof. No. My children come running in from every direction. Mom, what's going on? I had no clue. I opened my back door and I seen everybody running through the alley, so I made the kids stay in the kitchen. When I got to the alley, there was a fellow who was picking himself up off the ground. He flew through the air during the first explosion. His face was a little messed up. It exploded again, and the fire department told us that we had to leave. I put my children and my mother in the car, got them to my aunt's. I came back, and they tell us that there's going to be another explosion possibly. And they backed us all the way up, and now we can't get any closer, but very, very scary.
I am with Tiffany Peterson. She lives right behind that Domino's. And Tiffany, tell me what you heard and what you saw and who you were with.
Well, I heard a boom, 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 and a big explosion, a lot of fire. But I was with my son. I was bringing him to my house so his dad could come and pick him up and take him out of town. And I was walking down my porch, and all of a sudden I just hear boom, and my son almost fell down the steps and run to the car to his dad, and it was fire everywhere, kids and people running here and there everywhere.